Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Tony King. I'm a photographer and today we're doing another monthly review of my work as a photographer. This is where I'm looking at pros and cons to my work, where I can improve, where I excelled at. And this is actually kind of a part 2 for the month of July, because if you saw my other July video, you'll know I posted 21 photo albums in that month, and that's what I'm working off of. 21 means 21 photo walks. Sometimes that number is a little bit larger than the truth, because sometimes one photo walk becomes 2, or I use 2 cameras and I post those images from the 2 cameras separately, or the 2 lenses separately, so that somebody kind of looking for, I wonder what images on this lens look like, they might find that easier. That's kind of the purpose behind that. That being said, 21 is a lot, and I went on a big trip to Jekyll Island where like 4 days I posted 15 photo albums, which is a super huge ratio. But again, like I said, that goes between 2 different cameras and variations of lenses, times of day, all sorts of things. So like, I went to the sunrise twice, and that created 4 photo albums because I had 2 different lenses or 2 different cameras, and each one of those was like its own thing. So I want to separate those just so that what you see is like a little bit more kind of constrained to a certain moment. That being said, I made a July month review for all the month of July except for the 15 photo albums from Jekyll Island. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. 7 images from Jekyll Island. Very hard to nail that down, especially it's recent, and I think I did a pretty good job on this trip. So it's kind of hard to nail down just 7, but I've done so. And starting out with this image of a truck. I think this image is very cinematic. The truck is like creating its own Z-axis here because as it's passing us in the car. This was right after a rainstorm, so that's how you can see like the dark cloud, but the lightness ahead. I think there's chromatic aberration on this like road sign, so I could have probably edited that out. It's a green truck, and the green is so ever so subtle, almost black, but you can tell it's green sort of, and the light is hitting it in such a nice way, and it's like almost like winning at the end of the day. And you are winning because you like just went through a really heavy rainstorm, and you're like, finally some light and safer driving conditions. So I really like this image. I also took another one, which I ended up cropping to a 2:1 aspect ratio, but I like the scale of this image a little bit better so that you can really see more of the truck, more of the sky, more of the whole story. Great vibes here. Super nice shot. Let me know what you think in the comments. Next up is from my very first night on Driftwood Beach in Jekyll Island, which is kind of what Jekyll Island is mostly famous for, at least to my knowledge. And we have this woman walking through the high tide and all these really interesting trees, and it kind of feels like an opening around her. I do wish maybe I was like 6 inches higher and looking down so that her head was a little bit further away from those trees above her, so she was a little bit more isolated. But again, if you follow my channel, you know I'm looking for naturally occurring windows, and this is a perfect example of that with the trees at the bottom and like kind of going around her. So like she's very well framed by the obstacles around, and she is very dramatic. The storm, the waves crashing in the background. So there's a definite theme and feeling behind this image, which I really like. This image, the more I look at it, the more it grows on me. Kind of the action, the solitude, the danger, the action. I really think there's something here that I really like, and I want to keep exploring. Next up is kind of a picture I feel like I have to include, not just because like I think it's a well taken photo, but just because of what the trip was to Driftwood Beach. This is one of the driftwood trees, probably the most kind of intact, standing up, large trees of this nature. To my memory, this was like the one. And with the sun coming up, still like this is like at the end of our sunrise walk, so like the sun was at the bottom, but now it's kind of in the sky. Still morning vibes, good colors, but like kind of subtle, still vibrant enough though, and kind of forcing its way through the branches, even though it's already such a big sun in the sky. Very wide angle lens of 23 millimeters, so you can see pretty much the whole tree. Like the very far edges are still going out of frame, that just show the scale of the tree. It's just an impressive part of nature. Very happy with this shot for the most part. Are there like better shots out there? I'm sure, but this is a picture I feel like I should include, so that's there. Next up, I don't know what you guys think of this image. For me, this has become one of my favorite pictures I've taken. Like the more I look at it, the more I love it. And at first I was like, that's kind of cool. And then I kept looking at it and I really, really like this image. It went straight into my comprehensive portfolio. There's so much story here, and it also like doesn't really feel like 2025. Like this feels like it could be out of the 60s. It feels like it could be out of any time, just based off like what the people are wearing, let's say. And I like this, you know, there's like two mothers, or I think one of them was a grandmother, and these two kids on the beach. But then you look at this very interesting driftwood tree kind of cutting the image in half and kind of separating these other kids that you can sort of see in this very small V opening on the left side. There's two kids left behind almost in a way, and separated, and it kind of gives it's not necessarily eerie, but there's like some sort of feeling behind it that's not a net negative. It just is like, hey, like you have more people back there and they are kind of doing their own thing, and it's a family unit, and maybe they are two moms and they have like kids that are friends and they're trying to do their own things and trying to figure things out, but there's a family type feel in this image. And there's always somebody who's like one sibling or two siblings that are in the other room during dinner when you have guests over, or at the kids table. And then there's the two kids that are like more like following mom around at every turn of the table, you know? So I really like these different elements that different people can assign different feelings based on their own lives to the different kind of characters in this image. If we're talking about the color, it's like very kind of, it's not super vibrant, it's kind of flat-ish, and like the tree is barely out of focus, but the people are in good focus. That's kind of what I was going for in the moment. Like I could have stopped it down and gotten just everything in focus, but that's not really what I wanted to get in this scene. This is just, to me, really fits into the style of images that I want to go for. Blown out skies with like isolated subjects and windows, and this tree is perfectly framing one side of the family and the other two kids that maybe are just running around and doing their own thing during Thanksgiving dinner, like whatever the story is behind there. And there's another group of people in the background, the very far edges as well, which is kind of cool. And you can see just kind of the landscape, and it's like a super unique beach, but it feels like it could be any day. It doesn't feel like it's that unique of a beach, even though it is, but you're just having a moment of family. It's, I don't know, the tree creates such an interesting element to what really is kind of a family photo. And for me personally, you can't see any of the faces of people, so I'm really happy that I don't feel like I'm intruding anybody's privacy. Most of these people, probably they would see this picture and not even tell it was them unless they really knew when I took it exactly. So I usually don't take pictures with kids in them because I want to respect their privacy. But here I'm fine with it because there's no way you can tell who these people are. So that's just a side note for me. Next up is this image of crashing waves on these tiny little branches that are sticking out of the sand. And to me, this kind of gives like the scale doesn't really compute. Like these are tiny, like 3, 4, 5 inches tall little branches, but if you look at it from this angle, it almost looks like they're tall towers being crashed by a giant wave in a disaster movie. In some ways it feels that way, and I really like the sharpness and the details of all the little bubbles in the water and how the light is capturing the very tippity top of these branches and the top of the water. I think is super nice. The angle I was able to get with the Z-axis, super nice. So overall, I think cinematic image, very cool feeling and nice quality. This is an image I really, really like. I use my wife here as a foreground object on the left. There's even a tiny little boat in the background. You can barely tell. 2:1 aspect ratio, and the soft lighting from the sunrise, that the sun that had gone up by a decent bit at this point, creates very cinematic feeling, very subtle vibrance here as well as a lot of my pictures. That's kind of what I like to go for. And this tree seems like in such shallow water, but the waves come so far forward as the tide comes high. It's very, very neat. Very satisfied with the feeling and the color quality and the framing of this photo. And the last photo is actually not from Jekyll Island, but it's from the same trip. It's from St. Simons, which is very close by. It's of this man kind of looking out over the ocean. I think he was just waiting on his fishing line to pull for some fish, but I really like the light, how it's hitting the side of his face. This is also like not feeling like invading his privacy, because like this could be just any guy with a beard and a blue shirt. Like, you know what I mean? I like his glasses on his hat. They're in good focus. There's a good story here, kind of a somber but like patient feeling. It's like yes, I'm waiting on this, and I'm looking out. Maybe I'm having some deep thoughts in the meantime, which I really like. I like the overall blue, like his shirt is blue, the sky is blue, the water's blue, so it's kind of a monochromatic for the most part feel, which I'm a very big fan of. So this is the last picture from Jekyll Island. This is my part of my month in review, let's say, for the Jekyll Island trip that I took. I think it was a very good trip for me as a photographer. A lot of images here that I like a lot. Maybe I can do something with at some point. I would definitely like to go back and really take more and more pictures there, because it was such a good location, such a beautiful place to be as a person, not just as a photographer. And the photography part is just a cherry on the ice cream cake, which is exactly what they say. Thanks for watching the video. If you made it this far, subscribe to the channel. I make more monthly reviews monthly for every month, let's say, but I also make gear reviews. I post my own photography all the time, and I'm also just talking about photography in general. So if you like photography, I think you'll find something you like on my channel. So subscribe to it, and I'll see you around next time. Thanks. I've been Tony King.